All right, welcome back to the channel. It's Monday, July 6th. We have two juicy matchups on the board today. And I'll tell you what, I hope you guys are ready and you came to make some money because I think these are the two most enticing matchups I think we've had in this World Cup. Um, if you're here to make money, this is the day to make money because these matchups, in my opinion, um, are as enticing as it gets in this World Cup. I think these are two. I don't want to say shoe-ins because we've seen this World Cup and what it's entailed. Okay, so nothing's a shoe-in when you got teams that are fighting for their country. But with that being said, I think that we'll have a good grasp on these games, and um, I think there's some good value on the board in terms of the odds here. So that's what really makes this so compelling is from a betting standpoint. I think these are going to be two really good games as well, but I think the winners are quite obvious. If you've been watching international football for the last 4 years or so, um, you should have a good idea of what teams are going to come out on top here. But let's talk about yesterday. Yesterday, that first matchup, we went 1 for 2. The first matchup against Brazil and Norway, I should have known better. Honestly, I knew this Brazil team was counterfeit. I knew that they didn't have it, and on the other end. I knew that this Norway team was playing well and have been playing well for the last 2 years. So, I mean, I can't tell you how close I was to picking Norway to qualify. And the fact that I could have got that at plus 220 really just eats away at me. Okay. Because I was so close to taking Norway. And obviously, I got it completely wrong. The opposite of what I picked, Brazil and both teams to score. It was Norway in both teams to score. But I would have just taken Norway to qualify at plus 220. Whoever did that, fair play to you because I think that was probably the most obvious pick. Brazil playing on the counterattack, for the life of me, I can't understand what the hell that was all about and why Ancelotti decided to do that. If you don't have Rafinha in the matchup, you don't have Rodrigo, these players that are willing to make those runs in from behind the defenders. Vinny Jr., he isn't that type of guy. This guy thinks he's some type of superstar over here. He thinks he's the next coming of Pele. He's not going to make those runs. He thinks he can do whatever he does over there on the left side, cut in, cut inside, and then, one of them bullets to the side netting. Listen, he gets one. We've seen that in that game against Morocco. He's going to get one from time to time. But Vinny gets dispossessed so often. He's not active in the game. If things aren't going the way that Vinny wants it to be, he pouts off and acts like a little baby. To be quite honest, So why he gave that penalty up to Bruno Guimaraes, I have no clue. Obviously, it shows that Vinny wasn't up for the moment. Vinny was scared, and Vinny is not the guy that maybe some people think he is. We seen Neymar when it was time for someone to shoot a pen. Neymar stepped up there and he did his thing. Although he was showboating, I don't know what he was doing with the goalkeeper there. You're down 2-0. You just scored. You got less than a minute to go. I don't know why you're going to talk smack, but and then Neymar crying after the game. This guy get cries every single time. But where's the love for the game? Why aren't you saying, "Hey, I'll be back in 4 years"? No, he's saying, "Hey, this is my last World Cup." I don't get Neymar, and I don't think he's up there with Brazilian greats. As good as he is from a technical standpoint and the dribbling and all this stuff, I don't put Neymar up there with Ronaldo and Ronaldinho, and certainly not Pele. So, with all due respect to Neymar, he's just not in that category, in my opinion. But I don't get what Ancelotti was doing, trying to score against the run of play, play on the counter when he doesn't have the personnel to do that. He doesn't have the personnel that are willing to do that, in my opinion. But then in the second game, what a game. What a matchup. England versus Mexico. We did pull that one off. We had England to qualify plus Mexico plus two. And honestly, I wish I would have taken England on the money line, but I was trying to do the safe bet and we still got plus money on that. So if we look at it from the standpoint of units, we're still up yesterday. But we want to do better than that. We want to get the 2 out of 2, and I'm hoping today will be that day, and we get 100% on the board, and we able to make you some money. So let's go ahead and get started, and with this first matchup. All right, the matchup of the Iberian Peninsula. We have Portugal going up against Spain. The first thing that is the most glaring aspect of this matchup is that I think people are forgetting just because Spain hasn't been the most sexiest team in this competition. We just played sound, compact football. I think people are forgetting how good Spain actually is. And they're looking at this Portugal side and they're looking at all the superstars and all the, these fancy players over there and Ronaldo, CR7, and they're thinking, okay, this team has so much talent, up against Spain, and they haven't looked very good. Lamine Yamal, he's been inconsistent, this and that. And they don't realize that this is the way Spain has always played. If we go back to 2010 and look at that team that won the World Cup, that team only scored 9 goals. Of course, that it's we can even say that that was a different era at that point. They only scored 9 goals to win that World Cup. Less games, so on and so forth. I understand that. But it just gives you an idea of how Spain historically and traditionally has played their football. Sound, compact, highly technical, and getting the job done, not conceding a lot of goals. And that's exactly what we've seen in this matchup. I haven't liked what I've seen out of Portugal. I really haven't. They were lucky to come out of that Croatia game with a victory. Okay. And they had to save it until late in order to actually get something done. They had to watch Croatia score a goal before they really got a boot in their ass and came out there and actually did things. And one of those was on a penalty. So in terms of actually in open play, they only scored that one goal on that great header by Gonçalo Ramos. So I'm not hot on Portugal. I think they haven't played well throughout this tournament. I think it's the same old song and dance with Portugal. They get a lot of balls into the box. They get the crosses into the box, but there's no one there clinical enough to score it. And that includes Ronaldo. As I mentioned before in videos past, this isn't the first time that he's kind of struggled in a World Cup. And again, not that he's struggled, but it's not that like that he's lighting it up either. But I like Spain in this. I think this is an easy call. And the fact that we're getting Spain on the money line at minus 110 is ridiculous to me. I think even the bookies are forgetting how good Spain is, and they're just looking at the squad and thinking, okay, they don't have the superstars, they don't have the players on the the wingers to, and but this is a team that is designed to win games 1-0, 2-0. They may give up a goal to Portugal, but they're going to score two then to be able to win it, and I see it being done in regular time. So I like Spain. I like them on the money line. I think at minus 110, that's a hell of a value, and I think you got to take that. This is my 5-star bet. Okay, I'm calling it 5-star, 5 soccer ball bet. I really, really like this matchup. I like Spain. I think it's going to be Spain and France in the semifinal to make it into the final on this side of the bracket. And honestly, I'm not sure who I'm going to pick to win that game. I picked France from the beginning, but let's see how Spain plays in this game against Portugal. Um, but I do think they'll be able to get a couple um, past the goalie, and I do like them to win maybe 2-0, 2-1, maybe even 1-0. But I'm taking Spain on the money line. All right, USA versus Belgium in the second matchup, 8 o'clock Eastern. And it's going to be played at Lumen Field there in Seattle, Washington. And a lot of Americans are going to be pissed off at me. And I wouldn't say a lot because I don't think there's anyone really watching these videos. But I think if Americans did pay attention to these videos, I think they'd be pissed off at me because, um, listen, the United States have had a nice run. They won a knockout game, and that's a big deal for United States soccer. But this is the toughest team they're going to play up until this point. Has Belgium looked good throughout this World Cup? No, they haven't. Were they able to pull that game off against Senegal in a game that I picked Senegal to qualify? Yes, they did. They save it to late for late to win that game? Absolutely, they did. Did they win the game? Absolutely. So that's all that matters. I didn't think that was a penalty at the end of that Senegal versus Belgium game. I think that Senegal got robbed. However, it is what it is, and Tielemans was able to come through with the penalty kick to win that game 3-2. It's hard for me to pick against my countrymen in this matchup. Of course, if we look back to the March international window and that friendly against Belgium that we lost 5-2, a lot of our guys were in that game. They were playing in that game leading up to the World Cup. And we didn't look good against Belgium. And that's at a time when Belgium was looking really, really solid. Of course, I think they drew to Mexico a couple of days later in their other friendly in that window. But, this is a Belgium team that I'll admit consistently underachieves in big competitions. They did it in the 2022 World Cup, they did it in the 2024 Euro, and now here in 2026. Um, it looks like they've sort of put it together. I don't know if you can necessarily say that if they walk away losing in the round of 16, that that's a success for a proud footballing country like Belgium, a team that in 2022 many were picking as a dark horse to win the entire competition. So they're quite a bit older. They're the guy that they kind of rallied around throughout this entire what they called a golden era in Belgium for football in that country, in that team with guys like Kevin De Bruyne, Romelu Lukaku, and I apologize for mispronouncing these names, and a number of other players that have been looked at as a um, golden era of Belgian football. So, but they have underachieved, and that's unfortunate because they do have a lot of talent. Thibaut Courtois in net, so it's a weird situation with this game. It on paper it looks like a team that the United States would want to play. They don't play at quite the quick pace that other teams might have played at. They kind of, play within that final third and try to move the ball around and find crosses into guys like uh, Lukaku, for instance, get the headers and things of that sort. Um, a guy that just moved to Besiktas in Turkey, Leandro Trossard, who plays for my favorite team, Arsenal in England, or used to play for Arsenal in England. He's a guy that consistently comes up with clutch goals for them. And I can possibly see that happening in this matchup, where the United States loses this game 2-0, 2-1, something like that. Maybe 1-1 at the end of regular time. It goes into extra time, and they end up losing in extra time, something like that. But I think at the end of the day, Belgium is just going to be too much for this United States side that has done an admirable job. I think all Americans should be proud for what they've done. And honestly, I hope they do come out with a victory, but taking Belgium to qualify at plus 100, it's just too enticing for me to pass up considering all the talent that's on that Belgian side and what they're able to do when they put it all together. And I just think that the United States might struggle to score in this matchup. Um, but again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. The United States is in way different form than they were in March. So, but just from my standpoint, I don't like it as much as the Spain matchup. But I'm going to take Belgium to qualify at plus 100. All right, that's all I got for you. These two games are the only ones on the board today. What I may start doing here going forward, I definitely going to start covering college football and football when it comes back in late summer, early fall. But I'm also have an interest in tennis, so I think I'm going to cover some of these Wimbledon games as we move forward this week in closing stages of that tournament. But I may put up some baseball. There is some Champions League qualifying. You definitely can expect me to start, covering the new European soccer season, football season as soon as that starts going. But there is some Champions League qualifying, and once we get further into the qualifying stages, I may even cover some of those games. You can't bet on them at Bet365, and they also televise them there on the app. So, but I would say good luck to everyone today. Go United States. Even though I picked Belgium to qualify, obviously, and I am going to bet on both of these games as I posted them here. Um, if the United States does win, obviously, I'm not going to be pissed off about that. I would be splendid. So it's one of them numbers. All right. So good luck with your bets. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below. And we'll see you tomorrow for another two games. Last two games of the round of 16, and we're on the quarterfinals.